This episode is brought to you by High Point Market. Welcome to the Design Dash podcast, your guide to designing a life you love. Join us as we explore the keys to living the life you want without compromise. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Design Dash podcast. I'm your co-host, Melissa Grove. I'm here with my co-host, Laura Umansky. And today we are also here with Elise Arnoult Miller. She is the founder of Arnoult Fine Art, which is celebrating 15 years. Is that this year?
Yes, it is.
Big deal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We know that the art world can feel like a black box. It's very exclusive. It can be intimidating. It can be confusing for both designers and for clients, especially if you're not fluid in the language of the art world. But Elise cuts through all of that. She's grounded, she's deeply knowledgeable, and genuinely approachable in a field that we don't think is very approachable. Her path, going from auction houses and galleries to studying in Paris, launching her own advisory, is anything but typical, and we love that kind of career path, so I know we're going to talk about that today. But we're also going to get into how Elise has built a career in this niche corner of the world, and how she helps people connect with art in a way that feels personal, intentional, and authentic. So I'd have to say, Elise, that my first question for you is, what pulled you into the art world in the first place?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. um, you know, um, I always loved beauty as a child. So growing up, and I was kind of surrounded by the arts, not necessarily visual art, but and I don't know, I just kind of grew to be fascinated by fine art when I did start going to museums and galleries. And then in school, I studied art history. And that was kind of a revelation. I realized that I could absorb so much more in an art history class because the professor was teaching mostly with slideshows. And I was fascinated, and I realized that I could absorb so much more if I did not even try to take any notes. I would just really follow visually. Now we know I'm a visual learner. Um, and it's just something clicked. A switch definitely clicked. Um, and I was interested in museum work and that kind of thing. Um, but when I was still in school, I decided that what I was really kind of missing about learning about fine art was the cultural side of it.
Mm.
So not just like brushstrokes and artist names and dates, but what I really wanted to get at was culturally, like what about that culture at that time influenced this artist to come forward with this kind of work. That's the kind of thing I was trying to get to. And so I ended up with a major in anthropology.
Mm. And then what was your first job out of school? Where did you go after that?
Oh gosh, so I was dabbling in art, like I worked at the Blaffer, which was on campus U of H. At the time, it was called Blaffer Gallery. Now it's called Blaffer Museum. And I worked a little bit part time in an auction house, and then while I was finishing school and shortly after school, I worked in luxury hotels. And I also worked for a tour operator that did ski trips to the European Alps areas,
Oh,
which
wow.
was a lot of
That's
fun.
pretty
And
fabulous.
yeah, it was great. But I kept kind of going back to the art. But, and I uh, remember hearing one of your other podcasts with another guest who was saying, the jobs that you have along the way on your path towards, your ultimate ideal goal, all of those things teach you something.
Mm.
And one of my true loves is the ability to offer services. And
Mm.
that's why I think I loved that luxury hotel kind of environment, was just kind of being able to do something really special for somebody.
Mm.
And, I was really fascinated with that. And so I was kind of torn between hospitality for a while and art, but, um, just finally made this decision. This is really my calling and my goal, and I want to go this direction. So I dabbled around a little bit for a few years and then started working, mainly with galleries for many years before I launched my own advisory.
And so you did launch your own advisory. So what made you feel like, okay, now is the time I feel really good. Like, did you just have a moment where you're like, this is it, I'm doing it? Or was it like, oh, I don't know, it's kind of now or never? Like, what made you feel like, okay, this can be a business, this can be a real thing. I want my own advisory.
It was a little bit of all of that. I would say that, in the all along, throughout my lifetime, I've always thought I've been around entrepreneur types maybe and thought, that's kind of the ultimate goal would be to work for myself. And so that was
Mhm.
buried somewhere in my head. Um, and then as I was working for galleries, I learned so much and I learned how to talk about art and sell art and, appreciate it and understand it and communicate about it. And so but the limiting thing about galleries is that their job, their mission is to promote the careers of the artists that they represent. Thank goodness they're doing that because artists are not natural salesperson people usually. So we're grateful for all of the galleries, but they are limited to the works that they are representing. And
Mm.
so that's where I felt a little bit limited. I mean, I got to know the artist that whatever gallery was representing very well, and that was very enriching. But when I thought about the possibilities of going on my own, it really opens up the entire world. I now can offer any work from any artist around the globe to any client I want to. And it's just a lot of freedom is what it is. And
Mm.
it's me a lot more well-rounded and less myopic on, what I'm the goals are and what I'm able to offer and talk about. And yeah, just freedom and independence. And it's really wonderful. I wouldn't go, but yes, it was scary. When in 2010, I'm just like, oh, okay. I was very lucky though, because the gallery I had been working with allowed me to keep in touch with all the clients I had been working with. So that was a
Wow.
great springboard, and I did not expect that. And it was really wonderful. And I continued to obviously offer their inventory too. So it worked out well. And so that was a real lucky thing that happened. But yeah, I just kind of decided if I'm going to do it, I felt ready. Felt like I had the ability to know or learn what I needed to know to make it work.
Yeah. I think there's a parallel here too to interior design. So there are those designers that work for a retail outlet, for example, and they are very much beholden to that catalog. They don't go outside of that. And so I think that's that gallery experience, right?
Yep,
Versus being an interior designer, and then the whole world opens up and you can use anything you want.
exactly.
Um, but you also mentioned,
Any parallels? There's a lot of commonalities, I think, between what you
well,
do.
and the client base is
Yes,
similar. But you mentioned something about artists going out and selling on their own. They may not be natural salespeople. And so I think that in the art world, and maybe I'm making this up, but in the art world, there's a conversation happening about being represented by a gallery versus representing yourself. Where do you fall on that conversation?
so uh I welcome all of that, and I think it's great if an artist is able to self promote. I think that's a huge advantage for them.
Mm,
And in today's world with all the social media, I mean, I think it's easier than ever for an artist to self promote. On the other hand, some people are just not interested. A lot of artists
right.
have told me, I'm focused on work, and once it's complete and they let it go out into the world, it's like a child, and it starts to live its life, and they're not really interested, about how that all happens, and really not wanting to get involved with all the machinations that happen after the creation process. So.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think any of that is wonderful. And, however we can get art into clients' environments, I'm for it.
Awesome.
So let's talk about working with designers. How do you work with designers? How do you make sure you get that perfect piece in a client's home? What's that process like?
Yeah, thank you. I love working with designers, and the collaboration I think is really fun. And you guys have so much knowledge. Every time I work with a designer, I'm blown away because it's not just furniture, it's not just architecture. It's not just millwork or, textile. It's like the whole thing and it's always changing. That's another similarity. I mean, I sit at my computer and see something new every single day. That's one of the things I love is that I never stop learning. I'm always seeing something new. So, yeah, I love to collaborate and, as designers, I don't think you can be expected to keep track of everything that's going on in the fine art world, and that's when I come in. And so, yeah, it can be a really great partnership, and we share profits, and it's a way for a designer to kind of use a specialist. I think of myself as a specialist, like you might call in a lighting specialist or
Mhm.
someone like that. I think of myself as that kind of role when I'm working with designers.
Yeah. What about clients who are just like, "Okay, I don't know anything about art, but I want to. I
Yeah.
wanna start collecting, but I'm starting at 0." What
Yes.
how do you tell them?
First step would be to start looking at a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And the more images you can look at, the more art you can consume, the better. I'll even come to the table in a presentation with a bunch of images, just like overload images. Let's just talk about, we're not even talking about artists or periods or techniques. You just tell me if you like something and if so, why. And it's kind of just a little analytical exercise and me trying to get to know the client. And then we go in person to a lot of things. I bring clients to art fairs, to exhibitions, and we just talk about stuff. I mean, before we even think about purchases, I need to understand, their tastes. They need to start getting a feel for their own eye. And so it's a process, but it's a lot of fun. And yeah, and so once I get a good feel for the client's personality and their tastes, their likes, their dislikes, and also their environment to a certain extent, then these relationships go on years long and sometimes decades long, where even if someone's not actively looking to acquire something this week or this year, even, as things come across my desk, I'll think about that client. I'm just like, oh, who would be love this piece would be this client, and I'll send it off. And so that's how long-term acquisition relationships work, is that I just kind of send them things as I find them. It's the reverse of people who come to the table saying, I'd like to acquire a piece a year or three
Yeah.
pieces a year, whatever. And then it's a little bit more structured where I come with proposals every so often. And they make their selections. I mean, we do it that way, a little bit more methodical.
Mhm. I love this idea of giving myself as a designer permission to work with a specialist. I don't have to know everything. I think a lot of designers, including me, feel really pressured to be experts in everything. Antiques and the art world and all of these lighting design, all of these things. It's okay to call in a specialist. And in fact, it's better because it's impossible to know everything. Just admit it. You don't know. I
Very true.
don't know the art world inside and out. I actually have an art degree. That's my bachelor's is art.
Oh, nice.
Can't even tell you what I learned back then. Like, I took art history. Nope. Didn't I mean, I get it. I get, like, the different periods, and I get different movements in art, but I need that specialist. So I think what you're offering, if we would just, as designers, give ourselves permission to bring you in, amazing. And s
100%.
and so how do you work with designers? Like, we have our own process. So at what point would we tap you to come in as that specialist?
As early as possible, and especially if it's something like a new build or a renovation, because even if we don't know which piece exactly is going to go somewhere, if there's a wall where we know we want a large piece, we want to start talking about lighting and how it will be engaged with as people move through the space, that kind of thing. So the sooner the better, but I totally understand that on a lot of projects people are thinking about furnishings and finishes first, and art tends to be an afterthought. Um, but if
For some people, not for everyone.
for some people, yes, but If fine art is a priority and maybe there's already an existing collection, I do this a lot. Help people bring a collection from one space to a new space or a renovated space or something like that. So, yeah, sooner the better if possible, but we can always make it work. And, a nice collection is built over time, usually not, I have a new house, I need to fill it with artwork. That
Mm.
is really
Right,
f practically speaking, not the smartest approach
right.
because if you're building, um, a collection that you want to endure and stand up over time, not just in appeal, but in value, it's better to really take your time and
Mm.
do piece by piece and buy things that you really fall in love with.
If you're a designer, then you know that High Point is the epicenter for all things interior design. All your favorite furniture vendors are there, your favorite designers, manufacturers, tastemakers, trendsetters. Market happens every April and October, and we hope you'll register and attend. We're there each market, and we're always finding something new. We know you will too. Check out highpointmarket.org for more information. You said something
Can you
interesting there about starting really early because I would think, okay, now all my furnishings are here. Now I'm ready for the
Mhm.
art, right? And it doesn't sound like that's how that works. I'm sure that there are other myths out there that people are these misconceptions that people have about art. What do you wish that people understood a little bit more? Or maybe there's something you can demystify.
Oh, so couple of things I see happen sometimes when it comes to placing art in an environment, and one of them is mistakes of um, color palette,
Hmm.
scale, and hanging height. So the first
I
one
am
is
crazy about my hanging height, so I can't wait for this.
the first one. Okay, let's start with color palette. Okay, my general rule, if you have, let's say you do have the space that's already complete, it looks gorgeous, everything's in place, now you're ready to place some art. Sometimes there's a tendency for someone to think, well, we want it to blend. We want it to pick up colors that are in the room already, and we want it to seem, like it's agreeing. And what that can turn into is a homogeneous effect. So
Mhm.
that to me is a red light. We want to avoid that. And to me, if you have a room that already looks very blended and beautiful and serene, and that is the perfect time to place a gorgeous, outstanding, attention grabbing work of art, and the effect is gorgeous. And it's a conversation starter, and it's
Mhm.
just really it's just so complimentary that way. It's really a wonderful effect. So I encourage people, even if you have a traditional room and you buy a super contemporary piece, it looks beautiful. If done
Mhm.
right, it can be really impactful. And vice versa. You can have a contemporary space and put in an 18th century painting. Why not? If it's framed and lit
Love
well,
it.
I mean, it can really work. Um, so that's color palette. Hanging height. Okay, there is this general rule of thumb of the 60-inch sight line. So, in other words, the midpoint of the painting, let's say, would be about 60 inches off the ground,
Right?
so that even a short person like me or a tall person can kind of be, facing most of engaging with most of the piece, right? However, and that's a great rule of thumb. I'm not trying to discount that. Um, and if you have a plain wall and there's nothing else going on, that's probably going to work really well. However, when you have like, let's say, some little vignette, like there's a small chest or a small table or a little chair and a lamp, and you've got this little moment happening. It's okay to take a small piece and put it way down because
Mhm.
it makes it more intimate, or even like a console or something like that, bigger piece of furniture. And then you'll see like this big space in between, and
Oh
then
my
it
god, that
dark.
drives me nuts.
It makes me crazy. It needs to communicate with the piece of furniture that it's over, right? So that it seems like a whole thing, not, that little no man's land is very irritating. So,
Yeah,
and
I
then the
agree.
scale also just going too, it's usually too small. a beautiful opportunity for a beautiful painting, and it's just a bit too small. Um, yeah, I would rather go big. It's hard to go too big, but it's easy to go too small. So, and if it's too small, maybe add another, or maybe put that somewhere else and find it better. But
So
those are
I
my
feel the same way about lighting too. Art and lighting can never be too large. Just go big.
oh, good. That's a good rule of thumb.
But,
Yes.
it's funny because I tend to hang I'm short, I'm 5'2". I
Me-
tend to hang pieces a little lower than I think most people may, and I mean just slightly, just a little. It just feels a
Mhm.
little more grounded. I think when art is too high, it is off-putting,
Agreed. And
and
it
just something
really
feels
is a
off.
case by case basis. Again, like I always try to be in an installation in person
Yes.
because even if I've seen pictures and I know the piece and I know the art, it doesn't really matter until you're standing there in the room and you're watching the installer move it up an inch and down
Yeah.
an inch. And
You
there's
just
a
have to stand there, and it's just by instinct. You're like, "It feels better here," and I
yes,
bet most of the time ends up at 60 on center.
it happens.
Um I think these are all good rules. And I want to go back to investing in art
Mm.
as part of an investment strategy. So let's say I'm just starting, or I have a couple of pieces I've invested in, but they've been more just on gut. How do I get an investment strategy and what should that look like? I mean, can I even look at that alongside my portfolio, my stock portfolio?
Oh, sure. So let me just preface all of this by saying I don't really advocate purchasing art solely for investment purposes.
Right.
Um, that
That's
so if
refreshing. Great.
say I just want to put money in something,
Yeah.
and I'm buy a painting and keep it in storage for 10 years. I'm not your person. So that's the first rule is I never encourage people to do that. That being said, though, I do find that my clients like to know that if they're spending a lot of money on a beautiful thing, they would like to know that that thing is at least going to keep its value and hopefully increase in value over time instead of a situation where it's worth half of what it was gallery last week when it's sitting in your house.
Mm,
And it can be done. It's not foolproof, but the way to do that generally is to choose an artist that has a reputation. So an artist, and I don't mean fashion. I mean there is basis for people to have confidence in their practice. So museums recognize them, art critics recognize them, etc. That kind of confidence. The work has to have really good quality. That's where an expert eye can come in handy. And those are the works that will have longevity. And that's your best bet for long term value is to go for
mhm,
quality. Um, and so, yeah, you do see pieces that increase slowly but gradually over time, a lot like the stock market would. I try to steer people away from a super hot artist who is on this meteoric rise in their career that has been shown to be a huge disaster for both for the artist market and for
mhm,
the people who jumped on that bandwagon because it can actually end up flipping their market where the secondary market for their work is higher than the retail market and it's just sorry that's a little more technical than you probably want to know but it's really not good. I steer away from hot things that are popular without quality behind them.
okay. I mean, I think that's a good rule of thumb for investing in any interiors piece too.
Yes,
I mean,
quality.
as
Mm,
much as you can.
mhm.
So, Melissa, I'm sure you have something else here, but I want to know about art fairs and which one you're taking me to
Oh,
because I want to go with you.
yes, let's go. It's so much fun. So the main groups are Basel
Okay,
and
I've never been.
oh, you should totally do. Oh, there's
I know
also
I just missed it.
here, um the Design Miami,
Mhm.
beautiful. It's wonderful. They have
Okay.
a lot of interesting things, and I always do Design Miami, even though I'm not a designer. There's always wonderful things there. Ceramics and wall hangings and light fixtures, and I mean, it's amazing. But yeah, it's there's a lot to see. So these Art Basel has, I think, 4 fairs around the world. Frieze has 3 or 4, I think. So the main centers of art are New York, London. Paris is kind of reemerging. It's really interesting. Oh, it's always been a great art center, but as far as where most important sales, I mean, auctions and galleries tend to land. It's mostly New York and then London. But it's interesting what happened with Paris in that before the Second World War, Paris had historically been the base of fine art, period. I mean, any artist, Picasso, I mean, anyone who wanted to study art or sell art or work in art went straight to Paris. Very logical. And then when the war happened, artists kind of had to go underground in Europe. And
Mhm.
so there was just everything kind of stopped in Europe at that time or was delayed. Artists, went to different countries and, did things from afar for a while. But the interesting shift then was right to New York. And the post war period, as you know, was a big kind of rethinking of art and what it is and what it can be. And the center just popped up in New York because the U.S. wasn't involved in that war, and that's how New York became the big, art hub. So, but now it looks like there's renewed interest in Paris.
Mhm.
Paris, they just had their Frieze edition there. There's lots of beautiful locations to have art fairs there. There's lots of very long-standing, very reputable galleries there. And so I think in the next few years, you're going to see people migrating to Paris a little bit more for fine art.
So is that the next one we're going to then?
Sure. Here, that would be fun. Let's do
Okay,
that.
stay tuned, everyone. If you're listening, stay tuned because we are going to an art fair with Elise.
So much fun.
All right, Melissa, before I hit rapid fire, off the cuff rapid fire, do you have anything else?
Well, I did want to ask one question, but it's going to seem like it's coming out of the complete blue, Elise. So I hope you're okay with that.
No problem.
But I wanted to talk about personal style because I know that we always say that we're client centric as an interiors firm, meaning that, I mean, obviously everybody has what they're personally drawn to, what works for them, but then the clients might have something different. I would say that art is probably even more objective or subjective, I mean, than interior design. How do you balance that? Like, have you ever had clients who are just like, man, this is really hard to place because I don't know what they're looking for. It's so different from what would catch my eye.
So that's a really good one. And I've thought about this a lot. And certainly my own taste, my own personal likes do leak into my practice. There's no doubt.
Yeah, it has
However,
to,
yeah,
right?
my job though is, like we were saying before, is for me to get to know the client. And really, I love all of it on some level. I mean, there are some things I won't get involved with, and that's okay. But but anything in reason in the fine art realm, um, I also appreciate. So if someone comes and they says, "Well, I'm into pop art, or I'm into op art, or I want, to only do female artists from, or female photographers, or it's nice to have a specialized goal like that when you're collecting. It's not necessary, but that's nice direction. But I guess what I'm saying is my position is to make sure the quality is there, make sure the longevity is there. It's my job, if it's an older piece, to check out the provenance, to check out the condition, and check out, just make sure the price point is appropriate for the quality of the work and that kind of thing. That's where my advisory comes in, that role comes in. And as long as I have confidence in the piece, I work in any style. So it's really very open and flexible. And some collectors really don't care. They just buy whatever catches their eye, and it's a eclectic collection, and that's great too. So yeah.
I like eclectic. So tell me, for those primarily our listeners are interior design business owners. And so I'm an interior designer. I'm ready to work with you, but I'm not so confident about how much my client can invest. Can you
Mm,
give me a range? And I know the upper end is going to go sky high. Where
yes.
am I starting? Like, if my client has a budget of X, we would be a good fit to work together.
So, let me just say, if someone really loves art and wants to start collecting art, but they're maybe not on a level where they feel like they want to engage an art advisor, there are wonderful things to be had, especially fine art prints.
Hmm.
It's a medium that is so overlooked, I think, that it's labor intensive, and these artists put in incredible hours to produce these things. So that's a place to start even on your own. And then, I'd say an advisor comes in maybe the upper tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands.
Okay.
Um, that era,
So
realm.
right around 100,000, give or take.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not that we can't I mean, a collection can contain a wide range of values for different pieces,
Hmm.
and so I don't like to, you know, exclude, but, it's gonna start being more important that you have guidance when you're spending, let's say, around $100,000,
Right.
70, 80, 100, or hundreds, of thousands of dollars. That's when you really should have somebody in your corner looking out for you.
Agreed. I would want someone in my corner because yes, I would just need that. Okay. That's helpful. That I just needed like a range, because I wouldn't know where would I even start. So that's great.
Yeah.
So, Melissa, anything else?
I say let's go to the rapid fire, but I have a rapid fire question.
Ooh, go, you first.
Give me a contemporary artist right now that you're just dying for. Like, I have to have something of theirs. White whale item.
Tracy Emin
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
or Cecily Brown.
Oh, okay. I don't know Cecily
All
Brown.
right. That's good.
Me personally.
Okay.
And so what is your favorite piece in your own collection?
Oh, I have a lovely little German etching. I wish I had it here with me. But it's kind of an obscure German artist. His name is Wunderlich, and um, it's like I said, it's an etching, but the quality of line is so beautiful. It's a black, black, black on white paper, and it's the profile of a woman, and she's
Mhm.
got her little dog there, and the the dog is just quirky, but the woman so elegant. There's so many things about this I love so much. I keep going by. Literally stand in front of it and look at it over and over and over again. The quality of line when he's doing that etching, it's a strong black line, and then you get a little bit tiny little fibers of paper that have been marked black, and so
Okay.
it's the effect. I'm not describing that very well, but the effect is just so gorgeous, the way that ink and paper can make something so beautiful, and not just a line on a paper, it's quality of line. It's a
Mhm.
lot of different things going on, in that image, so I just love it, and it wasn't really expensive, but
So that was a
it
good
doesn't
find.
really matter. I get as much joy from placing $1 million piece as I do a, $5,000 piece. They're all wonderful. It's the matchmaking. I
Yeah.
think of myself very much as a matchmaker. I'm not a creative type like you guys. Like
I
have
don't think that's true at all.
I have never wanted to create art or compose a song or anything like that. I am
You're
a
editing and curating. Yeah.
Yes, I do
That
enjoy.
is an art.
Well, okay. That's a good point. It's really just it's still interpreting. Think of myself as a matchmaker, an interpreter. I love to connect artwork and the artist and the client who's going to be living with that piece. That is the joyful part for me.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
What's your favorite piece you've ever placed with a client?
Oh, that is probably, again, not the biggest or most expensive, but I just fell in love with this Matisse ink drawing. It is a woman's head, and it's just so beautifully done. And there's a little dedication from Matisse to a friend, and it's just a lovely. I just kind of fell in love with her, and I still love to look at that piece. So yeah.
I think that's it for me. I mean, now I'm like, I need to go shop for art
Anytime.
just to go look at it. I'm probably not investing right this second for myself,
Exactly.
but
You
even for my
know,
clients. Yeah, it's so fun.
looking and looking and looking is the most fun. And now I'm to a point where I understand that I can't acquire everything I love. So I've gotten better at finding joy from only looking and not
Mhm.
necessarily having to possess something to really love it and enjoy it. So that's where art fairs and music, I mean, Manil, MFA age, I mean, it's just a treasure trove there. So yeah,
I think that's
just
a really beautiful sentiment. You don't have to possess it to really enjoy it. I love that.
mhm.
It's gonna be my mantra, maybe.
Looking
Uh,
is really like the best therapy, by the way. If ever there's a stressful time, I go straight to a museum, a gallery, I look at art in person. It's the
mhm,
best therapy. I always feel better 100% of the time. And or take a nice walk outside in the
mhm.
woods with trees. That's all I
Love it.
need.
Art too.
Art and nature.
Yes, that's great. Okay, so where can our listeners find you?
Okay, so my website is arnaultfineart.com, ARNOULT. I'm on Instagram under Arnault Fine Art. I'm on LinkedIn under, I guess, Elise Arnoult Miller.
They'll find you.
You find my website, there's links there. So,
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Elise. This
oh,
has
what a
been really,
joy.
really lovely. Thank you.
So much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to check out our next podcast, coming live next week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, you can find us and more wonderful stories like these on designdash.com. And make sure to follow us at Design Dasher on Instagram and TikTok. Till next time.